With no further ado, let's welcome host Mike Romai to introduce today's program.
And welcome to the Best of Beaver County, where we like to shine the spotlight on local people who have done remarkable things, on businesses and just special people that you may not be aware of, but here they are, living, breathing, working, raising families right here in Beaver County like the rest of us. And our guest this morning on the Best of Beaver County is Peggy Tiderman. Good morning, Peggy.
Good morning.
Let me get your microphone on there.
Yes,
Okay.
good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful
for welcoming
day
me.
out there, huh?
It is. We're finally there.
Yeah. Well, at least for the next 24 hours before the rains hit
We'll
again.
take it. We'll take it.
Most definitely. Tell us a little bit about Peggy.
Oh, Peggy, I've been around Beaver County all my life, born and raised. Grew up and graduated from Beaver, and then lived in the Blackhawk School District and raised our children there, my husband and I, for 26 years. And I went into business at an early age, in 1985, and started to work with local business here, actually, that was out in Beaver Falls Data Consultants Computer Centers, which was started in 1985.
Wow, yeah.
Became one of the owners in 1991 with DCI Career Institute, where we launched in the late 80s educational opportunities through the job training agency for dislocated workers through a lot of the steel mills.
Right. I remember those days.
Do you
So
remember
you're a
those
billionaire
days?
now then.
Well, yeah, right.
You got in on the ground floor of all this computer stuff.
We did. We were glad. We were very much ahead. Mm-hmm. The first network in the area was done for that. But yes, and then just started evolving, became an owner, and been in the school industry for a good part of the 40 years that I've been in the work area, owning and running schools and sitting in all seats at the table. And then, unfortunately, in 2014, my husband passed away from a quick bout of cancer, and I was looking for something new to do from all the years I had the opportunity to help develop leaders and students around the community in Beaver County. Many, many people that I still run into to this day that'll walk up to me and say, "You remember me?" And of course, quite a few students, and some of you remember, some of you don't.
Right.
But definitely, thankful for the opportunities and the journey that I've had. And we started a leadership coaching company in 2017 with my son's business. He lives in Cincinnati, Ohio area.
Okay, why'd you let him get away? What's he doing out there?
My son and his wife and 4 children, both of my children decided to leave Beaver County when they got married. One's been married 25 years, living out in the San Diego area with her husband and my granddaughter. And then my son and his wife in the Cincinnati area, which is where his wife was from. And for
Always
the last,
go from where the wife is from.
20 years. Well, yes, but my daughter, she's the one that left me, and she jokes about that. And I know she's listening out there in San Diego today, so she's going to be laughing about that. But yes, thankful for them and who they are and what they've done. But I've been able to visit across the country a lot over the last probably 30 years because of the work I do and my family being in different locations.
Well, we could tell your daughter that she can even watch this on Facebook Live.
Oh, great.
So, if you go to our WBVP Facebook page and click it on, you'll be able to find this live stream of the program. So you can see Mom right here.
That's right. That's good.
Just like having morning coffee with her. So what made you choose this career path? You graduated, you're a Beaver Bobcat, 1976.
That's right.
And were you always good at math or something like that in school? How does a person choose finance?
Jack of all trades, master of none, and learning. And in education, you, especially in post-secondary education, you have to learn understanding numbers and finance and development, because you have to be, as any business, to be profitable and have something that is working to help interests of people. I've just had some great mentors along the way that have helped me understand business, because I've had a few other areas that I entered into in the business world for work, and I worked for a great CEO out in the Wexford area, and he was very powerful in teaching me about finance and the understanding of it. Then I had another important person as a mentor along the journey from Texas, who was one of our school owners in the early years. So individuals who help each other, which is what I love to do and why I love to help people develop and grow.
Networking. Right.
It's huge.
Yeah. Right.
I know more people across the country than I probably do in the Beaver County area, living here all my life.
A lot of people think decisions are made in the boardroom and, you're locked out of that. But it's through networking. You go to these places and one person knows another person and they recommend you to that person.
Absolutely, Mike, because our whole business of Streamline Coaching since 2017 when we started has been on referral-based only. And we've had the privilege of working with the government. We've had the privilege of still and working with the board that I serve on in 6 locations out in California and other multiple states in Texas, and actually in Las Vegas and in the actual Nevada area, in New York, have clients in New York. And just the journey itself, I served on a commission in Washington, D.C. for 9 years, and I am the past chair. So I was the chair in 2016 to 2018. And just being in D.C. for multiple times throughout the year, and then visiting educational institutions, up in the 150, 200 over the last probably 35 years in multiple different areas across the country. It's all networking. It truly is. And that's what I believe in, and just relationship building with people in the work you do.
So why aren't you in government? It seems like you have a lot of, there's a lot of exposure and a lot of experience with government.
It's funny you asked that question. I think every 3 or 4 years, someone will come up to me and say, hey, why don't you consider politics? When I served on the commission with people around the globe, because we were a global accreditation body. So we accredited institutions all over the world. But people would come up to me and say, and I just smile at them and say, I'm on the trajectory that I'm at, and I think I'm going in the right direction. And, I'm a very faith-based woman, and said, the Lord says, you're right where you're supposed to be.
If you're faith-based, you don't want anywhere near Washington.
Definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But with your background in finance, certainly they could use some of that.
Yeah. Well, and it is, my focus is on leadership development, and happened to get me into opportunities of growing organizations and helping partner with organizations in different areas. So it's really developing the people. And when you develop the people, you develop the process, you develop the system, you create the leverage for the opportunity to be successful, which is why one of my statements in there is, truth, trust, and transparency, and being able to build relationships and understand what clarity and people are looking for in their businesses. So that's our focus, helping any kind of business, whether it's a government business, whether it's a standard small mom and pop or a larger entity. We've been privileged for that. I've been fortunate to have a lot of exposure to multiple different things. But I will tell you, it just comes down to the people and how you collaborate and work alongside people, no matter what your title is, no matter what your role is in leading by example. And truly, it does work. And after 40 years, I can tell you consistently, it's a process that has outcomes. It's not easy. It's not that you don't encounter challenging situations, but there's a consistent denominator there that works almost inevitably every time.
You've mentioned a couple of times about your business in education. What type of education?
So I've been in the career school business, post-secondary education, higher education, post-secondary education for the past 40 years. And that's why that commission that I served on for the accrediting body, it's the accrediting body of continuing education and training out of Washington, D.C., who accredits institutions all over the globe. So that was our responsibility, and still is. It's still operating. It's been in business since 1974. And we are accreditors of that, as well as I am an individual who was a school owner. And I can
what type of school? Yeah.
Pardon me?
What type of school?
It was computers.
Okay.
And we actually got into medical assisting and massage therapy. So very, pretty much helping all the individuals in different levels. But I've worked in schools that did electrical programs and cosmetology, and right now heavily allied health in California. Those are the people I'm working with those schools now in the California area with allied health.
Wow. I mean, listen to this. I mean, you're just in a 1976 grad from Beaver High School.
Yes.
And you've done all this, rubbing elbows and making deals with people all over the world. That's phenomenal. And the education background, the accreditations for these colleges, universities, and business schools. Is that a risky business sometime? Because we see from time to time, not widespread, but somebody loses their accreditation.
Absolutely. And, being a part, and I love the seats at the table, and thank you for acknowledging that. And that's what I talk about, and which is why I think I'm very positioned, if you will, to help support people along the journey, is because it can be risky. It can be risky when you don't follow regulatory, when you take too many risks to not provide a quality education for the student, when you don't do what's right. And that's why I use the quote, there's no right way to do the wrong thing. And it's really, and when I was on the commission and serving as the chair, challenges of looking at institutions of whether or not they are positioned after a very heavy process that they go through to determine their eligibility. So it can be, but when you do it right, just like anything, Mike, it really is good. The risk happens when you take the direction of doing things that you shouldn't be doing.
Cutting corners.
Yes, cutting corners and not serving the student, truly serving the student, because that is really what our business is about. It is about wanting to make sure that student has a quality education, providing them with outcomes where we are providing them to achieve career-related positions. And I can tell you, as a part of the accrediting body I was, 70% of the graduates needed to be actually placed in the career-related field that they entered into. And you have to meet that benchmark on an annual basis. Proud of that.
Yeah.
Proud of that.
Because so many of these schools promise the moon and they don't deliver. They say, yeah, we have this placement. No, they don't.
Thank you. And I served on the CMP committee, which was completion and placement, while I was on the commission and working in the roles I did. So you just learn what you do. And again, when you go after the outcomes, when you start with the end in mind, you will deliver the quality education, and you honor that student for why they chose to come to your educational institution. So proud to be a part of that industry. Recently talking about, podcasting, and I know there's a lot of podcasting going on, and my son and I do a lot of different variances of things, and we facilitate workshops and are actually at conferences and present together, which is a blessing that we get to do. But we've been talking recently, and one of my goals is to really, build a podcast that is talking about the higher education community chat on all platforms, and just really what we're all doing. We're all going after a similar goal. And my daughter, she works for UCSD out there in California. So she works for an elite college and university where it's not any different when you do it right and when you really focus on why are we doing what we do.
Yeah.
And I really want to create that community all the way through from the student experience, all the way through to every person who is a part of the journey, from the accreditor to the president of the organization, to every role, the educator, the instructor in the classroom, the people that help with placement, every aspect of it.
Yeah.
Admissions, everything. Because there's a lot of good work going on out there that isn't known.
Exactly. It's the information people need to know.
Correct.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's a topic we talk about periodically on this program, and that's the high cost of education.
Yes.
Even more so today. Is it out of reach for a lot of students who need or want to go to secondary education?
In some instances, I would say yes. But what it is that you have to be looking at that, which is why I am really thankful for the work and the part that I'm involved with. You have to have those results. 67% of the individuals who start need to graduate, and then 70% of those individuals need to be placed in career-related fields. And then you have to help them to be able to repay those student loans as a responsibility and other resources for gaps. And you're right. You have to be, and that's why truly great organizations, educational institutions, are a package deal. It's not just about one part of it. We're helping to make sure that student, when they get to the end, are going to be able to obtain employment that will support whatever risk they take from a financial aspect. So you have to be truly engaged in helping that student to get there.
It's amazing to listen to you talk, and I don't know if we'll have enough time in this program to discuss it all, but your career trajectory always seems as though you have your finger on the pulse of what's coming up next, and you're right there on the cutting edge, waiting. It's almost like it's happening, and you jump right into it, and that makes you, somebody who's a trendsetter in all these things.
Well, thank you for that. And I like to be, I talk about relevancy, right? You and I talked, graduating years were the same. And, when you get to this point in
let
life,
me just say this, too, because we graduated the same year.
Yes.
You from Beaver, I from Beaver. Why do I look so much older than you?
Thank you for saying that on the air, first of all. I appreciate that. It is something that you look at in life and really trying to live life. And again, from the leadership concept of what we believe in, it's a holistic approach. And I believe that living my life through leadership, and that's why I talk about my personal side in that article, is because life happens to us, and we have to embrace it. So I really believe in taking care of yourself. I also believe in being true to yourself, and also making sure when you live life that if you are living by the actual truth, trust, and transparency, and really committing to it, you are living more freely in a holistic level. And I'm, just trying to do the best I can. I appreciate you saying that. Being relevant, and I love that. And relevancy and trend setting is important because we gain wisdom in life. And I say this, the older I get, the more I realize I don't know, the more I realize I want to know, the more I realize I want to come around people like yourself who do know things that we do. And we share knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And we become more knowledgeable. And the realization, I don't have all the answers, but together, collectively, the sum is greater than the parts, which we believe in from Streamline Coaching. We can have it and get it together. So trends are because of relevancy and how you show up to be open to learning, which that mindset, skill set, tool set, every day knowing there's something out here for me to learn, there's something out here for me to grow from, and there's an opportunity for me to be able to give back. So I just love knowledge. I love talking with people. I love learning. Whether I'm on an airplane and my kids laugh about that and talking to that person.
Oh, no, you're that person that sits beside me and wants to talk the whole flight.
Well, you know what? I don't when I respectfully determine that engagement, Mike. So don't worry. If you see me coming next to you, it'll be okay when
You'll
you don't want to talk.
see me with a cap pulled over my eyes and pretending like I'm sleeping.
I don't bother those people, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Peggy Tiderman is our guest, and we'll continue on the Best of Beaver County on the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Join a team that's been making a difference for over a century. St. Barnabas Health System is hiring full-time security officers for night shifts in Gibsonia and Valencia. Work 12-hour shifts from 8:30 p.m. to 8:30 a.m., plus every other weekend, and earn competitive pay starting at $17 an hour plus shift differential. Enjoy full benefits, flexible scheduling, and the satisfaction of helping keep residents safe in a respected and growing healthcare system. Take the next step in your career. Apply now at stbarnabashealthsystem.com/careers or call 724-444-JOBS.
Oh my goodness, Amy, it's so good to see you.
Jennifer, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Is your mom doing any better?
Thank you for asking. I don't know if I can answer without being emotional. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and worried. I can't always be there for her, and it's so stressful.
I really understand. That's how I was with my dad. I'd recommend calling St. Barnabas. We did. We started with just having them come in for home care. He was so excited to see them show up. And when he needed more, we were able to move him in at Beaver Meadows, where he still has his own home-like space and excellent care.
Thanks for telling me that. I don't even know how to start, but I have to do something.
Oh, you can just give St. Barnabas a call. They have directors that can explain how it all works. Trust me, you'll feel so much better, and so will your mom.
I'm so glad I ran into you.
Visit stbarnabashealthsystem.com or call 724-443-0700 for care apart from the ordinary.
And it's the Best of Beaver County on Beaver County Radio. And our guest is Peggy Tiderman. Peggy is, she's a lifelong resident of Beaver County, left for a little while. No, you didn't. No, you went to Blackhawk. Well, that's another world for a lot of us.
That's true.
Especially if you went to Beaver Falls. It's a whole nother. But Beaver, and then you got married. Your husband was from around here?
He was from Hookstown.
Okay.
Beaver County,
Out
man.
on the farm.
Yeah, out on the farm. That's correct.
Let's talk about.
That's correct.
Yeah, and you said your husband passed in 2014, so your life hasn't been without pain, but you continue on, and your children, and still successful. What is the life lesson in that? Because it would seem, how long were your husband and you married?
Almost 37 years.
37 years. So it's probably a painful topic, but how do you pick yourself up? Because there are a lot of people out there who have had to re-educate themselves or find that tragedy has struck, and how are they going to go on?
Well, thanks for that question. And again, I don't think you ever totally get beyond that, but you learn to navigate life by just continuing and counting your blessings. You know, while you do have tragedy at times, there are always beautiful things that come from those things. The children, like you mentioned, and then my children getting married and having a wonderful daughter-in-law and a wonderful son-in-law, and then 5 beautiful grandchildren. And just watching them grow, you find direction through the heart. And again, that was one of the times when I realized that I needed to step up and be a leader of a different kind, because leadership is not to just the few. It's really all of us. And it's how we lead our lives. As I mentioned earlier, and you were talking about, staying relevant, staying in the trend. It's really focusing on what's before me and embracing that journey that you have, because there are many people who have a lot of tragedy in their life. And you see the great, beautiful stories come from the ones who found a way to navigate it and find a way to find out how to take that situation and turn it into something good. You miss those people. I was married almost 37 years, as you mentioned, and it was a very abrupt case that came on when I was 55, he was 56. So it was at an early stage, really, in our life. But truly, Mike, I would say the best thing is faith, family, and truly friends, and just finding purpose that we all get the same 24 hours a day to find.
When you were talking about your life's journey and DCI, when you were on the ground floor of that at the time, talking about tragedy that many steelworkers in Beaver County lost their jobs after many years. And needed something else. They got governmental help at that time. They got money for retraining.
Yes.
And that's where you and DCI come in.
We did. 1988, when a lot of the steel mills were going down, B&W and all the different ones, we were just a continuing education training center working with community college on some computer classes. And it was realized in some conversation with some job training individuals that we connected with that said, you know what, there's a real need for retraining. And we were a computer training center. So we then thought and partnered with them and said, hey, we can help these people find a new lease on life. My husband during his journey had 3 times when he was laid off. So
he worked for U.S. Air.
Yeah, he worked for U.S. Air, and it was very close to me in my heart for people who got laid off.
Sure.
So building those programs we built them from our own level. There was no curriculum. We created a 6-month computer application specialist training program and the content, and then also teaching them job search, how to go out, interview, how to prepare a resume, and do it from the ground up, because there was no resources at that time for that.
Yeah, and in job centers around Beaver County.
Evolved.
Yeah.
They evolved.
All through that. Now, I'm thinking back in 1980, 1985, in those years, we didn't think about computers.
No.
And these steelworkers are people who laid off, even U.S. Air, baggage handlers and whatnot, never thought about sitting at a desk behind a computer.
No. Not even how to use it. And of course, apprehensive. First of all, when you lose your job like that, again, knowing it from working and partnering with those people, as well as my husband, it truly is a change in their life that is on one of the top 5 crucial tragedies of life. So there's a lot that goes into that. And partnering with them. And I love that. That was so powerful in my early years, Mike. I can tell you, is the realization of people and their hearts and how you help people get back up, like you were talking about. How do you get back up? You do it because you just take courage and mental toughness and take that step.
As a young mother, a young wife, experiencing, like you said, your husband losing his job 3 different times.
Yes.
In that time, how do you, then you parlay that all into management skills.
And
you get into business acumen and all these sort of things. And it's like, how? I mean, really, okay, DCI, computers still, people are still learning it, but you say, okay, now let's move on to this. What happens there?
Opportunities through conversation with people and just seeing what is out there. And all of the things that I had along the way were 80% of them were newly created positions and just chances to say, let's try something new. Because starting with innovation in 1988, building programs for people who lost their jobs, that was a part of the early years of when I was started to work and realized that we can create things. And my whole journey of going on different organizations, I went to serve on the commission in 2011, not expecting to become the chair. And it just evolved because you provide skill sets. You show up in a certain way and people see something about maybe your engagement and how you want to make a difference.
But it seems as though, I mean, other people, many people have had opportunities presented to them. but they're comfortable. And they're saying, I don't want to take the chance. Look what I have now. I don't want to lose that.
Love it.
Yeah. So how did, were you always like that?
So
you say, oh, yeah, I'll try that.
it's funny. I love you saying that's one of my mottos when I've given graduation speeches. And my first one is say yes when others will say no. Because that's what it comes down to, being able to take that risk, having the courage to know that I can navigate this. And the more you navigate it, the more you realize you pull together information. My dad gave me the best advice. After I was 17 years at DCI, I went on to move on to something different because we sold the school. And I went on to move into something else. And I was talking with him, who will be 95 in August, by the way. So he's still living in Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
And was a supervisor in a township here. So well-threaded. Yeah. He actually said to me, take everything you've known and grown and learned so far. You've been a business owner. You've been developing leaders. You've been training and educating. You've helped people. Just take that onto your next chapter, and everything else will fall into place. It was one of the best pieces of advice I could have ever gotten, because you go into that new place and you're like, I can't compete. I don't know what they're doing, which we don't. And you learn to just bring what you have, but be very humble and accept their knowledge and build relationships so that people want to share with you what they know. That's my key to anything I would tell you, is just, again, back to knowing there's something to learn every day from every person. I don't care what their age is. I don't care what their scenario is. I can walk away with knowledge. And when you open up your heart that way, opportunities present themselves for you to become equipped to do what you can do and get the opportunity to do. And saying yes when others say no.
Yeah. And now you're on to a different phase in your life, and your children are following, and you're working with them through these different things. How do people in our audience, as far as your coaching, because you have a very inspirational story, how do they get involved? What do they need to know about your next phase in podcasting?
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that. First of all, in the podcasting world, I am reaching out to people all over the country, and I would love to talk to local individuals and students that may have been a part of my journey over the DCI years that I could connect with, and some of the faculty that worked at our institution, as well as the community colleges and all of our local institutions on higher education. Well, I'd love for them to reach out to me. We are at streamlinecoaching.com and actually can reach me through there. If they look that up, they'll get the phone numbers for myself and for Mark. They can reach out to us. We want to just have a story to tell from all places, so they can reach out. Anyone who is interested in just finding out, how do you go to that next place? We're here as an organization to help coach them, both individually and as groups and organizations. We do it on all fronts and all levels, no matter what the person, where they come from. We work with CEOs. We worked with the CEO from iCurrently, which will be a nice connection, Jason Altmeyer, who works with CQ.
Down in Florida.
Just at the conference last week. We were at the convention in Las Vegas for that, and he is the current CEO, and he knows, and this was his district.
Yeah, right. And I remember Jason.
20 years ago, and when I first met him, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I told him, he said, "I know right where your house is." And I said, "Oh, that's great."
Yeah.
So just all these organizations, but we're here to partner in any way we can to help anyone who's interested in talking about higher education, experiencing higher education, and just growing as a leader, because we're not solely in the educational sector. We're in business and across the board.
Educating the next generation of leaders.
And what helps is my son, who's a good bit younger, as he should be, is in the 40s, who is a seasoned leader and coach in his community and can help mentor young people and mentor just business, innovation, startups. He's very technically sound, which is what makes me relevant, Mike. I mean, my experience can't stay relevant without the vehicle. And I tell people that's why the duo works. He's so strong and very versed. He actually went to DCI Career Institute back in 2000 when he graduated high school, didn't know what he wanted to do. And I said, well, you're going through our program for an advanced computer and microcomputer specialist. And he went through it and has been successful ever since in his own business for the past 18 years.
Wonderful. Peggy, thank you for coming in and talking with us today. There's so much to learn from you and about you, and inspiration for many. And I hope we have more conversations in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate the
Sounds great.
opportunity and to get the chance to chat with you.
And you said your web address is what?
Streamlinecoaching.com.
Okay. Does it make you crazy when people still say www?
I'm sure I'm guilty of that, Mike, so I'm going to say I can't go there.
When I asked what's your address, I was hoping you were going to say www. But congratulations.
Thank you.
And much more success. From Beaver County, stayed in Beaver County, but globally, you're known globally and bringing in the next generations of leadership. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Peggy Tiderman is the best of Beaver County.
Thank you for listening to the Best of Beaver County. St. Barnabas is pleased to have provided content and sponsorship for the program. Tune in this Sunday at 11:30 for an encore presentation of today's program on Beaver County Radio. And next Thursday at 11 for another edition of the Best of Beaver County on WBVP, WMBA, and 99.3 FM.